There you are. Come on in. Welcome to the Email Marketing Masterclass. And today we're going to be featuring the queen of CRM and email. My name is Paul Leslie. I'm a content creator here at Zero Bounce. And we were just talking off the air, and we were wondering, where are you joining us from? Where in this big, beautiful world have you come in from? More people in the UK or more people in the USA? What is the most interesting place? Milwaukee, Wisconsin, the Netherlands, Akron, Ohio, Edinburgh, Scotland, Romania, Cleveland, Ohio, Cambridge, UK. This is getting to be a competition between the UK and the USA. Cape Town, South Africa. Welcome, welcome all. Cedar Rapids, Iowa. It's always such a big, beautiful group. So just a few things before we get started here. Who wants to guess the answer to this question? Is this webinar being recorded? Yes, this webinar is being recorded. You're going to get a full copy of the webinar. And by the end of the day today, we're going to have this full webinar up on our YouTube channel. Be sure and subscribe. But I didn't get to tell you the best part. You are going to be able to ask questions to your heart's desire. Any questions at all, please just leave them in that chat there. We are going to do our best to get to each and every question. So it's my pleasure to introduce yet again Brian Minnick, the Chief Operating Officer at Zero Bounce. He is the real McCoy when it comes to email. I have seen him do many of these webinars, always interesting. And be sure and connect with him on LinkedIn and keep your phone out because there's going to be a lot of these codes that you're going to want to click. And we're also going to bring out Beth O'Malley. She is the founder of Astral, the queen of CRM and email. May she reign forevermore. Beth O'Malley is the founder of Astral, an unstoppable CRM and email marketing expert. And she says an ADHDer with a great sense of humor. She's trained thousands of marketers, developed industry-shaped courses and practices, and helped businesses unlock £9 million plus in extra revenue from email in just 18 months. She's been awarded Best Full Service CRM and Email Agency in 2024, Top International Woman Entrepreneur, and recognized as a HubSpot partner. Beth helps businesses make CRM, data, and email marketing work harder and smarter. Wow, lots of people from all over. Thank you all so much for joining us today. So to tell you a little bit about Astral, they have a quite remarkable email newsletter. Be sure and hit that QR code there to sign up. Astral is run by Beth O'Malley, and they help businesses and marketers fix messy CRM setups, broken email strategies, and underperforming email marketing functions. Whether it's HubSpot horror stories, deliverability dramas, or a marketing team stuck in batch and blast mode, Astral dives in, sorts it out, and builds email and CRM systems that actually work. From audits and strategy to automation, segmentation, and training, they turn CRM and email marketing into powerful functions. And Zero Bounce, of course, is the number one email verifier for 400,000 plus clients. They are changing the email deliverability game. I should say we. And not to brag, but Zero Bounce has quite a number of well-known clients. You'll see there to the right, everything from Netflix, Amazon, LinkedIn, many services that you use every day. And we thank so many of you for being Zero Bounce customers as well. Today's agenda, we're going to cover a few things: the worst deliverability myths, why deliverability is mostly just common sense, how to fix your deliverability problems, what not to do in email marketing. And then, as I said, we're going to try to get to absolutely as many questions as we possibly can. Now, who is ready for Queen O'Malley and Brian Minnick? I think it's time. I'm going to go ahead and bring them on. Beth and
Hi.
Brian.
Hello.
How are you all feeling about today's webinar?
Good. Very excited. I love deliverability and I love zero bounce. So it's great.
Super excited and excited to be in the presence of a queen. So,
I mean, everyone could be the judge of that. I'm not sure. I didn't wear my tiara. I should have brought it with me.
Well, folks, you all have a great webinar and I will leave you all to it.
Thanks. Cool. Shall I kick off these slides, Brian?
Sure.
Cool. Okay. So I've heard a lot of myths bandied around the internet. I think if you Google it, right, like, you know, what impacts deliverability, I do think you get a different answer depending on where you land, who you talk to. And I met Brian not very long ago, and Brian taught me a lot about deliverability and especially some of these myths that we need to stop listening to. So myth 1, spam is just about bad content. So spam isn't just about what you say or like spammy words or whether or not you use exclamation marks in your email. I think there's been a lot of that bandied around for a long, long time. It's actually about whether people want to hear from you. I kind of describe email as having 2 spam filters. You've got the tech spam filter, Outlook, Gmail, and then you've got the human brain spam filter, which screams, I didn't ask for this. Oh, that was too much. Who are you? I don't want this. We've all done it, right? You know, when you get to the point of like, you're not even going to unsubscribe, you are going to mark them as spam. I think I do it like 3 times a day because I'm like, I never asked for this. Or that's so irrelevant. It doesn't matter to me. So looking nice, writing great content is not going to be enough from you to actually get saved from the spam filters in the tech, but also the human spam filter as well. So the real enemy here is low engagement, but also the human spam filters, because they will go off in your own brains when you look at your emails. Myth number 2. This one, I myself, like probably over a year ago, was like, oh my gosh, if your unsubscribe rate is high, that is terrible. And I've learned a lot in probably the last 18 months about deliverability. And unsubscribes are not a bad thing. They're not bad for your sender reputation. There's actually no proof out there that if you have I haven't seen a really horrific unsubscribe rate of like 10%. I've never seen that. So I'm not sure, but I'm talking, you have unsubscribes on every email. They actually don't impact your reputation, do they, Brian? They're not the thing that makes like your deliverability tank and go down. And I don't think there's not any evidence of that, but there are big players in the email world that do say unsubscribes. Do you know where that comes from, Brian? Where that like unsubscribes are terrible for deliverability?
I think it comes from the people that don't do unsubscribes properly. So if you do the unsubscribe of reply to my email to unsubscribe, you are bound for a world of troubles. And so you might be saying as the sender that I'm honoring unsubscribes, or I would honor it. But if people didn't want to hear from you, or they're, and you're requesting a reply, I think that's where misconception can kind of come in, where it's like, well, I wanted unsubscribes. I told them they can unsubscribe, but you didn't give them a link. You forced a message. That is a very bad practice.
Okay. Yeah, it's interesting. But this is a huge myth. Like, if you get unsubscribers on your email, do not worry, your deliverability isn't going to tank. And I learned this the hard way when I launched my newsletter. People were unsubscribing. And although I was like, do not take it personally, Beth, it's nothing to do with you. It doesn't worry me in the slightest. I would much rather people do that than mark me as spam, keep deleting my emails and not engaging. They're telling me, I just don't want to hear from you anymore, Beth. And that's totally fine. And then we've got myth 3. So myth 3, where this one, avoid words. I think this is like, again, something to be taken with a pinch of salt. And I'd love to hear your thoughts on it, Brian, as well. But I think maybe a few years ago, it was very much like, don't use free. Don't say anything about money. Be really careful what if you use all caps in your email and exclamation marks. But we've seen time and time again, brands and businesses do email, and I can think of a few in my brain where their deliverability is great, and they do push the boundaries of what to say in emails. So again, from a spam filter perspective, is this something that people should be still avoiding, or is this, can we say that this might not be a very strong factor anymore?
Yeah, I don't think it's a strong factor. Now, there are some keywords, right? And keywords I'm not going to mention that should not ever go into emails,
Okay.
right? But something like free or the emojis, if you look at your inbox, and like I have a tall screen, a vertical screen, and so I see like 50 emails at a time. The one I see the most are the ones that have emojis. It's just immediately pops the subject lines when they have emojis in it. And so no, and I think we have great stories from other people that we collaborate with all the time that these actually increase your open rates and they help kind of drive more engagement. Engagement is the key. So no, these keywords, you can't overdo it though, right? You can't put it in there 52 times in the subject and free. But no, these are just myths.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, they are. And I think that's the thing, like, just there's lots of different factors that we'll talk about that affect deliverability, and it's probably not going to be your words that's the thing that tips it over the edge and be like, right, you're going into spam. It's just looking at those 3 words. So again, this one is in the myth jar because I've seen lots of people test it. Cool. Brian, I'm going to hand this section over to you.
Sure. So I'm going to talk a little bit about kind of why email deliverability is, for the most part, common sense. And so I always want you guys to be thinking as if you're the recipient. You're the one that's receiving the emails. I think that's always a good way. There's 2 ways to talk about deliverability. There's also the technical, and then there's like the content. I'm going to talk a little bit about the technical today. So if anyone is technical, get your hats on here because we'll get some good content in for you. And let's go back to the basics. Let's start at the basics. What is deliverability? And this is the common phrase, which I'm very happy to see, by the way, is that delivery versus deliverability. The word delivery and delivered finally is really starting to become a thing of the past. That metric doesn't matter too much anymore because it doesn't really tell you anything. And I swear this is an ESP, like, how can we make our platform look great? And let's throw out this 99.9% delivered. It's such a bogus thing. It's like you dropping 100 pieces of mail in your mailbox and saying everything got delivered. No, like nothing happened yet. And so delivery versus deliverability. Delivered means it was flicked off the server. You can think of it like that. Deliverability means where did it land? And inbox is obviously key. And there's a lot of things that can affect that. So if you're going to spam, you have a lower deliverability rate. That's how we would talk about that. There's a number of factors that come into play with that, such as your domain, the IP reputation that you send from, the quality of the list that you're sending from or sending to, how the spam filters are reading you, and a lot of authentication. This is a lot of the talk that's been happening in the last 2 years is about authentication, and I'll touch on that as well. And here's a little bit of just the journey if you're visual and this is helpful. So once it's sent, that delivery is that flick off of your server to the recipient server. But you don't know if the security guard let it in. You don't know if, by the way, security guard's the spam filter or whatever. I don't know. I like to use that type of stuff. That's not telling you if it got into the door, right? And so deliverability is now, where does it all go? Is it going into the inbox folder, social, promotions? There's all these new tabs that a lot of people are very concerned about and are trying to bypass, which, by the way, I don't recommend you try to do that. If you are sending a promotion and it ended up in the promotion folder, just the common sense part, right? They did a good job. This is actually what they did. When people go to the promotions tab, they're expecting to see promotions. So yours is there. Perfect. There's no problem here. I really want people to start getting comfortable with that. I think too many people are trying to beat the system and getting to inbox, and what you're doing is probably going backwards. You might be putting yourself in the spam folder trying to get around it. So where it gets to the final destination, that's what matters. And if you notice, intentionally pulled off spam or not delivered at all, because that's not meaningful for you on deliverability. If you're in the spam folder, that's not a good thing. You want to be out, obviously. So, and what's important around it. So I kind of mentioned this reputation and sender score. How is the reputation built? What is the, if reputation on email is, I still feel, and I get a lot of questions that tells me that there's still education needs to be done here. Reputation is earned, it's not given. Okay. And on top of that, each of the mail providers that you send to are building their own reputation against you. So you might be doing a great job in Gmail, but Yahoo, you're doing a bad job and you're in the spam folder. That is a thing. And they are going to operate independently because they are competitors, right? And their job is to make sure that the emails sent to their servers and their recipients are in the inbox when they should be, or in the spam folder when they should be. And so they're using user behavior on their system and their networks, and they're just making determinations around you and how they rank you up and down and the speed that they're willing to change that. So if you made a mistake, you made a good old oopsie, and then you're trying to correct it. Some of the providers might act faster, some of them might act slower. So this is not a cast net. This is, you're shooting individual shots towards each one of those providers. So just be aware of that.
Can I
and
just
missing
add,
emails, of course.
No, sorry, I was just going to say on that, something someone said to me the other day is that they were working in HubSpot, and HubSpot does its own score. So you get your own and analyze score, your health score, and they took that as their deliverability score, because a lot of providers will give you a score or be like, this is your reputation or the health of your email. There is not one score, and they cannot give you that score. So I'm just putting that out there. HubSpot can't give it to you. MailChimp can't give it to you. Any of those providers cannot give you your sender reputation score. What Brian is saying is that you have multiple scores across Gmail, Outlook, Yahoo. So it's really important. And I am going to do a post about it in the future, because my score in HubSpot is not that great, to be honest, because it thinks my unsubscribes are bad, when actually what I'm measuring is completely different. So I think it's really, really helpful to know that don't go off that score that you get in your ESP, because it's wrong.
Yep.
Sorry, that was a rant.
No, it's a good rant though, because they have no way to really know. That's also the truth, right? That's why they rely on that metric called delivered. And so there is a disconnect between inbox and sending. There is a disconnect there, but you can get some information on it. I'll share some stuff on that and how to do it. For anyone who does have their phones out or loves data, I would highly recommend you take a look at the QR code and scan that. That is our email statistics report for 2025. So we'd like to run a lot of surveys. We want to know what users are doing with their email, how often they're checking spam. Is this a real thing? What's the quality of data that we see through the platform? We do a lot of reports like that. So if you're interested, feel free. But we're seeing that if only 25% of people check spam a few times a year at most. And mainly these are due to request. So I sent an email to Beth. Beth said I didn't get it, and I told her to check her spam folder. This never happened, for the record. But if it did, this is the common practice that you would hear, right? And so, by the way, this is a pro tip. If you've ever had to say that to somebody, you have a problem with your deliverability. Okay. Yeah. Or if someone's ever said that to you, meaning I didn't get your email, and then they were like, oh, I found it in spam, or I found it somewhere else, you probably have some issues with your deliverability, and it's worth checking that. Well, go ahead.
No, I was just saying, is it worth noting on that? Because I know from a B2B setting and a B2C setting, if it was B2B, the other thing as well is your domain might have good reputation, but if you're emailing to an organization where they have very strict, they have an extra layer like Barracuda of protection, that could push you to spam as well. Because I've personally had that before, where I'd say majority of my work emails that I'm typing and sending to clients here, there, and everywhere, I did it to a financial services client once. They never saw my email because it got pushed to spam. So there's so many other factors to consider there as well, but that could also be happening. But that's super interesting. I'm going to look at that report for sure.
Yeah, I would say if it's a B2C, if your customer or consumer is telling you that they had to get it out of the spam folder, you're in the spam folder. And that's not due to a block. That's not due to a policy on the company. That's going to be due to your sending practices. And another pro tip, don't send files to governments, financial institutes, health insurance people. Don't send file attachments, and don't use images anywhere. They will block all of that stuff and throw it in the spam folder. So they're just very secure, and they should be, for the record. I would love for my banking to be secure. So yes, I'm glad they have some tight restrictions there. And then what are some other things? Bounce rate. This is obviously something that plays a big role and often overlooked in the beginning. So you want to have a 2% or lower bounce rate. And by the way, 2% is not great. That's just the threshold. You should be under that. It is common to see an email or two, or it depends upon the list that you have, churning throughout the year and throughout each of your sends. This is normal. If I look on LinkedIn, it feels like every day someone else is posting I'm available for work. This is a result of emails churning as well too, right? So when people are churning and moving around jobs, emails are churning. The consumer emails generally churn a little bit less. So the AOLs, the Yahoos, the Gmails, they're not churning at the same rate, but business emails are churning pretty fast. So pay attention to them. Do some hygiene on those. So you can catch these invalid emails before you ever send to them. And I'm going to talk a little bit too. I have a slide on how to even get ahead of that. So you never send to a bounced email in the first place, or an invalid email, even when you just collected it. And just be aware that there's a lot of other things that can contribute to it, such as the email address is legitimate, but the server is misconfigured, or the mailbox may have been full. Mailbox fulls, I recommend to kind of pause sending for them for a couple weeks. Try it again. If it's still full, at that point, I would pull it off. It's probably an abandoned email, by the way, at that point. So just be aware. Authentication. This is a little bit more on the technical side. I'm not going to go too deep into the chart, but you're welcome to take a look at it. Email authentication is required by Google, Yahoo, and Microsoft for anyone sending more than 5,000 emails a day. I've gotten a lot of questions on this. I want to clarify. 5,000 emails per day from the domain, not necessarily one sender. So if you have transaction emails going out, you have sales calls, or sales emails are going out, you have your newsletter going out, you have platform emails going out, you need to be doing authentication. And by the way, if you're sending less than this, it doesn't matter. Everybody should have authentication. Why? Because it helps improve your deliverability. There's more trust behind the send. So what does this mean? So SPF, DKIM, and DMARC. These are the three kind of elements of authentication. And SPF is basically just saying who can send mail. And you're saying this in DNS. DKIM is a key, and it's a public key and a private key. And DMARC is the security policy. So DMARC says, what should we do with this if these things aren't here? And the whole point is to reduce spoofing, reduce people from trying to hijack your domain. And what I see a lot is people trying to implement this properly, but not doing it properly. And they're actually blocking their own emails from going out. So there's ways to check this. We have people that also can help you with this. If you're having struggles here, please reach out to us. We can help. And I'd also really recommend that people start using Bimmy if you're not already. And Bimmy is the logo on your in people's inboxes. So it's also now on Apple. I highly recommend people. I cannot believe how many people are not taking advantage of the Apple logo spot. And it's still just that letter. I cannot believe it. And these are massive companies on top of it. Really large companies not taking advantage of getting your logo in front of people. So implement Bimmy, and it's not that hard, but it's a little technical. So if you need help, just let us know. But these are things that can really help your deliverability. And the one thing, please, if you take away from this, I always preach quality over quantity for deliverability. That's a good way to think. But it's the sum of all of the things you're doing together that really equal great deliverability. So does authentication mean great deliverability? Yes or no? It's not a magic bullet. It's not one piece. It's one of the pieces. So all of them combined is really what's going to help you. Those sender scores, which is maybe a little bit about what Beth was saying. These are scores that are provided. Now, the mail providers are doing this. So Gmail, for example, Google is providing a score back towards you. Some of them are in numbers. Some of them are in terms, phrases, low, medium, high, these type of things. You want to stay in high. And the best way and kind of easiest way is to kind of look at it through Google Postmaster tools. And I have a little slide on that as well. And then your ESP definitely plays a role. So what else is happening on that ESP? Are you using a shared domain? Are you using are you using a shared IP address? Or using a dedicated IP address? If you're very serious about email marketing and you have people, you have budget, you have infrastructure behind this, if you're using a shared IP, it's time to get off of it. Do the investment, have ownership of everything that's going out on that IP, and check that IP before you commit to it, by the way. Sometimes there's bad IPs that are back in rotation. So take a look at it and focus on the engagement. That is really to me, the biggest key that every marketer has control of. You have full control. Well, you don't have full control, but you have the ability to influence open rates, click-through rates, and keep your spam complaints low. Unsubscribes are okay. To go back and stress on Beth's point, they're okay. They are considered a open. They are considered a click. These are the two best metrics that you can really get out of your email, by the way, opens and clicks. So if you're able to get it, it's okay. Just try not to get emotional about it. I think that's where everything goes south, when you get emotional on the unsubscribes, right? Feels like it.
You're talking about me, Brian.
No, it's common, but I get it. And I've been on the marketing call that everyone's like, oh, the unsubscribes are too high. And it's like, well, why? That's the question, right? Why did it get higher? And maybe you sent a bunch of content that people didn't want. And so that could be the issue too. Spam complaint rates. These are the worst signals that you can get. Okay. So a spam complaint is when someone marks you as spam, not unsubscribes. Let me say it again. Spam complaint is when someone marks you as spam. It's not when they unsubscribe. 1 out of 1,000 is considered acceptable. And if you are telling people to reply through email to unsubscribe, you bet you're going to have more than 1 out of 1,000 marking you as spam instead. Give people the benefit of the doubt. They will unsubscribe. Okay. Don't tell them to do that. I mark every single one of those as spam. Every one of them. If you don't give me a way to unsubscribe. So keep it low. And the way to keep it low is to also remove those people when they're marking you as spam. There are ways to get that information as well. And that's what I'm going to talk about, like how to fix it. So how are we going to take the facts of the problems and things out there that affect your deliverability, and how can we improve them? Beth?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I love this phrase. Read the room marketing. If anyone's come to a webinar before or follows me on LinkedIn, I talk about this a lot. And I think it's just really simple. When somebody signs up, whether it's a customer, a subscriber, someone makes an inquiry, whatever it is, stick to your promises. It's like whatever you've got in that tick box where people are opting in, just stick to that. You have to, people get an email address and they think, oh, it gets added to the list. So they'll just go out in that next campaign, send about whatever we're talking about. And read the room marketing it's literally what it says on the tin. It's all about, right, what kind of place are these people in? Should we send that email? If it's kind of like, oh, we shouldn't really, it's not relevant to everyone, but it could be, don't send it to everyone. Like, I think that's a really terrible trap to get stuck in, is let's just send it just in case it might be relevant. If you're not 100% sure it's relevant for your audience, you don't know your audience very well, your marketing strategy is clearly not very good. That's my approach with that. Only send content that aligns with what people signed up for. So, someone signed up to my newsletter, I'm not going to start talking to them about building a business or anything that's not email related. And specifically within email, there's lots of different topics that people come to me for. Again, I'm quite good at keeping that within the bubbles of what I talk about to them. Segment. I think, the thing that kills deliverability is just the constant, let's just send to everyone. And I work with a couple of businesses currently at the minute, and it's literally proof is in the pudding. They've been sending to all every day because the leaders in the business are worried about not getting the emails out and not everyone's seeing them. Why has that been sent to only a small list? And their spam complaints have been going up. So if you don't segment, you're going to see an increase in everything, all the bad stuff, essentially. You're going to have less opens, less clicks, less impact, less conversion. So please segment. Don't be annoying. Remember, don't be spammy. That human spam filter is going to go off. People can sniff it out. Like, I'm sure if you look in your own inbox, and you're just like, oh, I get one from a brand and they send me like, oh, account action, you've got 64 credits. And if you don't use it by midnight, and it just feels spammy. And I'm like, I didn't really want this. Be useful, be relevant, be welcome. Just, read the room when you send your emails. Is this going to attune to the mood, the situation, the stage of the people's journey they're in when you send that email? Really important. And then next we've got magic, please. There we go. Exclusion strategies. I think this is probably one of the best things that you can do, is ask yourself, who shouldn't get this email? Like, who shouldn't we be sending this to? And I think from an experience perspective as well, not just deliverability, really important. If someone's just made a complaint, we're not going to send them a marketing email. If someone's having a problem with the product, we're not going to put them into that email. So again, it's like reading the room, but also using an exclusion strategy to say, who shouldn't we? But by doing that, it means you're not sending to the people that you might agitate in the worst way, the people that are going to mark you as spam, the people that are going to keep deleting your email because they're just not interested. So exclusion, ask yourself, instead of who should we send it to, who should we not send this email to? And that will support your deliverability, because again, it is common sense, right? Like, send to the people that want your stuff, that's relevant, and just stop sending to the people that's going to harm your engagement. Because again, low engagement is a massive impact on deliverability. So I would say those two things, top priority when it comes to deliverability. And then we've got
Beth,
clean your database often. I don't think people really get what this means. Oh, good.
I love it.
Good. It's like it's just one of those things, isn't it? Yeah, like just like get the vibe. Like, don't be sending it out to someone. Like, you wouldn't send. I've had so many experiences where a brand or a business has just, it feels like, it's like, did you not see in your CRM that I just did that, or that I just picked up the phone and had that conversation? You know, and you're just like, you've just missed the mark completely. And it's usually because marketing aren't aligned with any other function in the business. And it's not marketing's fault. It's because you have systems that aren't integrated. But yeah, read the room marketing. Just like, read the room before you send your email. Is this really what we want to send to these people, and say this? Because once it's gone out, you know, not everyone's going to see it, but it's gone out. So you can't take it. You can't take an email back. You cannot take an email back. So there you go. But yeah, and then Brian, I would love to get your thoughts. Cleaning your database. I get this question loads. Well, how do we clean our list? Like, what does that actually mean? Do we just remove? There's a stat banding around the internet. If someone hasn't opened your email, I think for 30 days, they're 75% more likely to never open it again. And this study was done on a B2C brand that was like really small part of people. And everyone's then cleaning their list going, oh, okay, we'll take these people off. So what kind of advice can you give to people to how can they clean their database? What's the best thing that they can do?
Yeah, I think there's a few different ways to look at cleaning. And so one of them is going to be through validation, which is what I'm talking about here on the slide. The other one would be on engagement. And that doesn't mean that the recipient doesn't exist anymore. It just means they're no longer engaged. I think 30 days is too quick of a window to shut somebody off. I would start looking more into 3 to 6 months. If they're not doing any engagement, that might be something to start purging them out. But that goes back to the segmentation part. I would still do something with those, but you have to change the message. It's like, what did I do wrong? Send the breakup email, do whatever you want. If they still don't engage from there, it's also probably an abandoned account. That might be something that's taking place, or it's just kind of going to nowhere and people aren't paying attention to it. Then they're watering down your engagement rates and your statistics, and they're not doing anything for you anyway. So I would remove kind of unengaged people in a 3 to 6 month time frame. But there's exceptions to that. For example, I was speaking with people that do taxes. Who's engaging with tax people in November, right? And what's the business side? But from a US side, our taxes are in April 15th. This is the glorious day that we all hate. But come July, it's a you don't just start sending, I want to do some tax email. You can't start sending out tax emails. So you have to pay attention to your market and what's going on. But if you're sending, if you sell bathing suits and you sell, obviously now summer plays a role versus other parts of the time of the year. So you have to know your audience. And that's why I hate and love the answer that I use a lot, which is it depends. So read the room. I think it goes back to that kind of common sense side.
100%. I say to everyone, define what engaged looks like to you. Because there's you could be like a birthday cake company where someone buys a birthday cake once a year. And actually, all the emails that you send over that year could help them get towards that goal of that one purchase that they're ever going to do with you, which makes them a great customer. So I would always say email is an awareness channel as well as it's definitely not a conversion channel to start with. So as long as you've got an engaged pot that you're continually bringing in, and engagement, you can still email those disengaged ones with more of an awareness, because even if they don't open your email, they register it. But you can only have that. You'll destroy your deliverability if literally nobody engages. So you've got to have that engagement for that strategy to work as well. Anyway, I'm going to zip it. I'm going to carry on.
No, it's good. It's good stuff. So on the technical side, you can run it through a validation, system or integrate it with your CRM. So it's actually breathing with the CRM. That's really kind of something I highly recommend, especially if you're like a HubSpot user or any of these major CRMs. We connect right with it and breathe with it, and then allow you to configure how often we should check it again. It's really good at removing the churn of data. And another thing is it helps identify. So we deal with lots of different people. That's why I always say it depends. But we have people that work with charities and they accept donations, and they get email addresses that are like burner email addresses. Well, they want to accept the donation, but they don't necessarily want to start mailing them. And we can determine who those type of disposable emails are. Of course, you want the donation from them because that's what you're trying to do, but they're not a marketable contact. And they obviously know about you. They're probably lurking around somewhere else, but they just want to stay anonymous. So there's a lot of good uses for some of these other emails that at surface level sound bad. Also getting rid of these like bots and some of the toxic emails that if you've been attacked by a form or attacked on your forms and you haven't done any sort of validation on it, you probably have a lot of kind of these bots and toxic emails, which by the way, the ESPs have good ideas of who they are as well. And, they're willing to, they might make some judgments on you if you continuously send to them and don't ever clean some of that stuff up, because some of them turn into spam traps. So spam traps are really bad emails to be sending to. They are emails designed to catch people who are not following good practices. And that might be sending to people who haven't engaged for a super long time because they're taking a very old email and recycling it to a spam trap. Or they're buying purchase data that they intentionally put out on the web that someone scraped, that then you purchased and then you sent to. And they're like, boom, gotcha. It's exactly what they wanted you to do. Well, they don't want you to do it, but the fact that you did it, you're now caught. And so be aware this stuff is out there, especially if you're kind of acquiring any of this data. You have to be very careful with that stuff.
Yeah, and it does happen.
Your forms. What happened?
I was just going to say, it does. No, it does happen. Like I think lots of people are like, oh yeah, like I had someone the other day. They got blocklisted, and it was the worst day of the company ever. It was horrendous. So it does happen. So you do need to be careful for sure.
And oh my gosh, I see so many great questions here. I'm going to fly through these slides so we can get to the questions. Yes, use them on your sign-up forms as well. So we can catch on validation. We have some great partners that are using this on their forms, and they have done amazing jobs at recovering, not only getting these blocked emails from ever going through, but they're catching typos. If you are a B2C business, and especially as some sort of shopping business, or e-commerce, and people are on your forms and they're signed up for newsletters, you are going to get typos. It is the nature of the beast of mobile, and we can catch them and fix it with the user in real time. That is huge, because if they wanted your newsletter, they're hoping for that coupon and they're willing to wait a day to get it, they're never going to get it, right? And then now they're going to make judgments on you. And by the way, nobody ever admits to they typo their email. So it's your fault as a business, is the point of view of the customer. I hate to say it, it's just true. People have come to us and say like, oh, they didn't typo their name. It's like, of course they did. Like, here's the proof, right? So people are typoing their email addresses, especially as it's harder to get shorter emails, right? That's been a thing that's been very hard to get on a lot of the free email accounts out there. Get the authentication records in order. This is so important. DMARC, SPF, and DKIM, they are required, okay? And I want to say this. It doesn't matter how much you send. If you send anything, you should have this stuff on. It will make sure that your emails are authenticated, and it will add to your deliverability on a positive note. They're not that hard to do. It's done through DNS. You need DMARC monitoring of some sort. And by the way, I want to kind of just take 1 second. DMARC, if the minimum requirement is that you have a record that says V equals DMARC 1, P equals none. That does nothing. Okay. All you did was do the most basic checkbox saying like, yes, DMARC's there. DMARC is a security policy. So imagine this. Imagine you say, I'm compliant because you have a document that says, I have a security policy, the end, because that's what you just said. DMARC should have some content in it. And that is what a good DMARC policy would have. It tells people if it should be blocked or if it should go to spam or if it should just go through. So you need more than that basic level. You should have monitoring. It gives you great insight as well. Warming up domains. This is another thing. People are too quick to just start throwing stuff out on their domain, especially if you're a new business. And I can understand why you would want to do this because you're trying to get things off the ground, but you cannot just start throwing a bunch of email, and you can't change your scheduling, your volume just unpredictably. You can't go from normally sending 500 emails a day to 500,000 because you decided you were going to grab a huge list from some company and you're going to spray and pray. You are immediately going to just butcher your deliverability because you have not earned the right. And I don't know if that's the right way to say it, but that's how I see it. You have not earned that right to get into all those inboxes, and the ESPs and the ISPs are going to for sure catch up on that on you. Your ESP might even block you as well and say, nope, too much, too fast. So there's some ways to do warm up. Take a look at it. Monitoring the sender reputation, Google Postmaster tools, free tool, postmaster.google.com. This will tell you the reputation of your domain, your IP address, your spam complaint rates. This is specific to Google's environment. However, Google's running probably 40 to 50% of all email from consumer to business. If you have a bad reputation in Google, chances are you have bad reputation elsewhere as well. But Google is one of the great tools that they actually offer for free that everyone can use to monitor. So take a look at that. And then again, spam complaints, these are things you want to pay attention to. If your spam complaint rates are too high, you're going to be in the spam folder, and it's going to happen on a network level. So if your spam rate's too high on Yahoo, Yahoo's just going to put you in the spam folder. And by the way, never trust just your test list. Okay. So like we all have this test list that it sends to 7 people in the company, 4 of my own emails, 1 on my cell phone. We all have this. We all have it. Yeah. That's not how you measure deliverability. You can measure rendering. You can measure rendering. You can measure how it looks on the iPhone versus your Android. Fine. It is not going to tell you if it's inbox, because if it ever went to spam, you marked not spam. So that email address is no longer accurate towards how the rest of the ecosystem would see you. Any thoughts on that one? Beth, I see like you wanted to.
Yeah, no, I know that there's like everybody's going to be like, oh yes, I know that list. It's funny because it's like, I've worked in businesses where they've done that and someone's been like, it's gone into their spam, and then that's caused a whole load of things. Like, I just think the best way to test emails, not going off like tangent, is if you send a test round to people in your business, like they're going to be nitpicking at things that aren't the things that you need to be testing. So you need to use email test tools. You need to use rendering tools to see what it looks like. You need to use zero bounce to then do your placement tests, because you're just not going to get anything from that. And it's funny because it's just, I work with so many marketing teams where that's the thing. Like, we send a test list and then I just look at it on my phone and then off it goes. And I'm like, oh, okay.
Yep.
Oh, dear.
Definitely. So, for example, we have like an inbox placement tool that we provide a bunch of seeds to various providers. You cannot check them, by the way. So there's no outside influence to what's happening on the inbox. And we tell you, did it go into inbox or spam? So, and we have multiple seeds at these providers because there could be a ratio. Maybe something else happened. So take a look at that type of stuff. It's really important. And if you're very technical and you understand what an FBL is, or a feedback loop, there are free tools out there. Comcast provides this. Yahoo provides this. You have to sign up and kind of be part of it. But they will start to tell you who are the ones marking you as spam, specifically which emails are marking you as spam. There's some technical requirements that need to be in place for it, but this is very powerful because that's an indicator. Get them off your list. And by the way, that's not automatic unless you have some sort of mechanism that's doing that. So what I see a lot is people keep emailing those people who mark as spam, which, by the way, little jab here at the email providers. If you mark it as spam, why does it come back in my inbox the next time? Like, I just don't understand. And that does happen. It happens to me all the time. I'm marking people as spam and then I get another email from them. I'm like, shouldn't it be in spam folder? But anyway, Gmail, Yahoo, if you're listening, take note of that one. Set these feedback loops up if you can. If you can't and need help, that's something we can help you with as well. But they're very powerful and they will help, especially if you're a bigger sender. And try to audit the campaign performance. So what's going on? I don't get too hung up on open rates. I don't think that's the best measurement. Click-through rates, that's a good measurement. But what I'm really looking for is unusual activity. So if something went way up, something went way down, that's an indicator. I would take some sort of action and look into that. Or it's an indicator as this was not the right type of content, or it's an offer that they didn't want, never asked for. You might see some stuff there. Unsubscribe rates go really high compared to usual. So look for, the anomalies and see what happened there. Yeah. And A/B test. I can't stress this enough. A/B test. And by the way, the real definition of A/B test is not you put up 2 versions and only pick one and never come back. The real definition of A/B test is A, B, C, D, E, F, G test, meaning each time you do a test, you then drop the bad one and put another new one in there and see which ones, and just compete against each other. A/B testing is just like so underutilized. Do it continuously. A/B test.
Yeah.
So that's another one that will help as well. And a couple of fun things. What's not to do in email marketing? Some things you should never do. Beth, I'd love to hear how you think about some of these things, but do not email people without permission. There's a lot of problems with that.
Yes.
Yikes. Lots of problems.
If you're doing that, I mean, it's like, that's pretty standard. I mean, I've seen some people in the chat talk about like cold email, and obviously B2B, there's lots of fine lines, but yeah, I think you're doing a risky thing if you're doing that, like, for sure. But it does happen.
Mm-hmm.
And do you know where I've seen this happen actually? Is one where people haven't set up their ESP properly, where they didn't realize if someone clicks unsubscribe, it'll unsubscribe them from that list. And then they have like multiple lists. People think they've unsubscribed, and then they get another email, and then they get complaints through. So this happens all the time. They move platforms, they don't copy over, they have a workflow that resubscribes people that shouldn't have, and it doesn't check. So this happens a lot. I can probably say there's probably a lot of not compliant business marketers, but just by the fact that little mistakes happen. So I actually think that happens loads, but like always, just don't risk it. If someone's unsubscribed, never risk it.
Yep. Also, don't sending too often. That's another one. Again, I see so many good questions. I want to get to these questions. I hope read this list. Don't use it.
These are common sense, guys. Like, just and like, don't buy data. Don't do it.
Yes. That's the last one that I just want to stress. Don't buy data, especially from these untrustworthy sources. Don't buy these things from these people coming from these Yahoo and Hotmail accounts that are saying they have this target audience. It's a recipe for disaster. And I don't really recommend you buy data anywhere, by the way. All of it is generally pretty bad, outdated, or really untargeted. They're trying to sell you quantity, and you want quality in your data. So it's always going to be a bad thing. All right, let's get into it. There's so many good questions here.
Okay, let's go.
Okay, so it looks like we've got about 20 questions here. So we are going to do our best to get to all of them. Let's see here.
Okay.
So the first question comes from Beth Johns. What is the average unsubscribe rate in the retail industry right now?
Why does that matter? Why does it matter? Why does that matter? Like, is that gonna make you feel better about your unsubscribe rate, Beth? That's my answer. Don't worry about what everyone else is doing. Worry about what you're doing and benchmark yourself. This time last year, what was the unsubscribe rate? This time this year. I don't know about you, but I hate benchmarks, man, because there's so many factors. And I'm going to keep this like 10 seconds and we can whiz through, hope to get them done. But Beth, honestly, I won't worry about that. I wouldn't don't Google where should I be, because honestly, you'll hold yourself to that. You've got to focus on what you're doing genuinely, because then you'll be, we're doing better than benchmark. It's what people put in the reports to the leadership team, when actually what you need to be saying is emails driven this much impact, and that impact has had this effect on the business. That's what you need to do. Sorry, that was really harsh. I'm sorry, Beth. I was like, don't do that.
I love it. I have no follow-up on that. That's it.
Beth, thank you for the question. Much respect. Casey Hirons asked, unsubscribing. Wait, my bad. This
That
one
was
comes
about
from,
my newsletter. Casey's
yeah,
lovely. She's
no mistake there. A golden endorsement. Simone Marcus, can we talk about Google's new subscription folder?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a place where all of your email newsletters it's a recipient folder that all of their subscriptions of newsletters will come into that they can manage quickly, right? I again see no issue. If you're doing good things, that's another place for them to see you. And so
yeah,
don't run from it. That's my advice. Don't run from it. Embrace it. It's here. It's the future. This is happening everywhere.
It is. It is. And it's the place where like you can unsubscribe from everything. And I honestly think if like Google's introduced this and it's encouraging people to unsubscribe and not mark you as spam. So like I think we're going to see over the next year people's brands and businesses unsubscribe rates go up and up because of tools like this. I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it's a really nice, easy way. You know, a lot of people have Christmas clear outs where they go, I'm going to unsubscribe from that. This means it's all year round and it's cleaning your list for you. So I love it. Don't avoid it. It's great. It's good. I love it. I use it the other day. I did a bulk cleanse. It was amazing. It was very therapeutic.
Nothing to fear there. Andrea Stapleton asks, we have strong deliverability and strong open rates, but low click-through rates. What are elements we can test to increase the click-through rate?
For me, this is A/B testing. This is the definition. So it goes down to color of button. It goes down to the text on the button, and what are you doing to encourage click-through rate, right? So are you doing a good enough? For example, I see people will say like, oh, well, my click-through rates are really bad. And then I look at it, it's a promotion that they sent with a coupon code and the coupon is in the email. Of course your click-through rate's bad. They're not going to they're not going to hit the button on the email to go to your website every time, but they probably copied and pasted that code. Would I encourage you to go take that code off of the email and put it on a landing page? Heck no, I would not encourage you to do that. So I think it's focusing on the right stuff and encouraging people to take the behavior that, first off, it's natural to them. But if they're copying and pasting a coupon code off your email and they don't click, but then they go use that coupon, I think that's the whole segmenting and knowing your actual audience. Here's how I would do it. I would argue make a coupon code that's specific to each user. That's not easy to do, by the way, but there are tools out there. And then measure it that way and call that a click-through if you really want to. But they obviously use that email to do it. So it's a little hard to answer it specifically without more context, but I think you have to be creative and stop thinking everyone just wants to hit the button. Some people will just go to the website. So are you measuring the full 360?
Yeah, I literally just jump in. I wrote a post earlier saying if your email might not get clicks, might not even get an open, but it might be a topic of conversation that someone has. They might go and search something. They might go and tell their manager about something. And I think you've got to look wider than the clicks, right? If your goal of your email is to get clicks and you've got low clicks, you've got a problem. If it's actually, we want this many people signed up for an event and you've got a correlation between the emails and the events going up and the searches and all of that, you don't need to worry too much. But anyway, next question.
Snezana asks, what does the stripped email mean?
I've never seen an email strip.
Yeah, I don't.
I've never seen. Was that? I think it might have been when you were talking, Brian, about like no images, no files, no links.
Oh, got it. Okay, maybe. Okay, good point.
Email. Good. I'm not sure. I don't know.
I thought it, but you really threw me off.
Maybe that's what that means.
So stripped email, if that's what you're talking about, just to be super clear, if that's what you're talking about, where I said if you're sending to banking or you're sending to government and things like that, they don't allow, and they're very strict with, unless you're whitelisted, they're very strict with any images coming through. They're very strict with anything from the outside web going through the email. So by stripped, what do I mean? It means that you deleted your signature and you typed Brian Minnick. Right? You hand type that. It's not coded with colors and all this type of stuff. They just it's a plain text email. That's the easiest way to think of it. It's a plain text email with no attachments, no images, and no outside links, and turn off any tracking. So if you're a HubSpot user, turn off that click tracking. There's something in there that is kind of calling the outside. That's what a stripped email would be.
Yeah.
Gordon asks, what is the current good practices of including links and file attachments in cold outreach?
Yeah, I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't. I think it's
Yeah.
very similar to what you said, Brian. Like when you're a new person, like an email coming into a business, like it's just a red flag. It's kind of one of those known things. You will see a drop in your deliverability will just tank because you'll just keep getting blocked because it doesn't like attachments, files, links. It's like, this looks like a dangerous email and they're not going to let you in. So yeah, I've 100%, I'm not a massive fan of cold email, but I'd rather people if they're going to do it in the best way. And the clients I've worked with that carry on and do it, they've seen the best results when they've turned off tracking, got rid of the links, got rid of the files. It's the only way really to kind of get through if you're going to do it. Like, yeah, it's one of those things. Unfortunately, I won't put anything in there that's not text.
Couldn't agree more. If you want some better practices that are necessary on cold outreach, you can, if you really want to do like any sort of linking, or I wouldn't do file attachments, by the way, that's just a hard pass.
Mm-hmm.
Especially on cold, like why I'm going to automatically default to you're trying to hack me, and I'm going to mark you as spam if you send me any sort of files. But what could be powerful is going on LinkedIn and sending voice notes. That could be something that has some power behind it, right? So there's a lot of tactics as well that can complete like a rounded approach to doing outreach, and you don't get it. There's no like deliverability impact. If you try to go take a LinkedIn route, people expect it there.
Is it worth getting a sender certification?
Yeah, I definitely think so. Is it worth it? Sorry, relative. It depends. Do you have the budget? If you have the budget, yes. Because again, I'm a 1%er added up 50 times 2. Now you're doing a lot of great things. So yes. Is it the first thing I would go do? No. I would follow best practices. I would build your list properly. I would get all the other good stuff in there. But yeah, I don't think it's a bad thing.
Madeline, adding to that, thoughts on BIMI or CMC? I was getting mine set up and then found some places that say it's not worth it.
I don't know what places told you it's not worth it. I'll tell you what your issue is right here. Is because you said CMC and not VMC. So a common mark certificate, CMC, is not accepted at some of the large providers. I believe it's Yahoo or Google. Sorry, I forgot. I believe Yahoo takes CMC, but Google does not. So you implemented BIMI for half of the kind of world out there. So let me ask you this question. Would it be worth it if your logo is sitting on people's phones and their desktops, and they don't check their mail every single day, but they leave their mail up? They're not going through, like, is your logo presence an impression of that? Is it worth it? If the answer is yes, then BIMI is always worth it. And to me, that answer, if you're a business, is always yes. Where I would correct this here, Madeline, is I would go with a VMC, which is a verified mark. And then that would make sure that you can get on Apple's program as well, Google, Yahoo, and all the big ones. So would I do it with a CMC? I would argue that one's not really worth it. A VMC, yes. And if you have no clue what I'm talking about, by the way, which is not uncommon, if you're like, I have no idea what he's saying, just reach out to us, reach out to me on LinkedIn, and we can help you.
All right. You all are doing wonderful in answering these questions. And thanks for all these great questions. We're going to try to get to all of them. Lauren asks, doesn't it cost a lot for a BIMI? A lot when you consider small businesses?
I feel like if you've got everything else, like if that's going to be your first thing you do, that's going to be like, that's going to cure email, it's going to make it amazing. I feel like it's a bit of a pyramid here. We've got like all the kind of stuff that you should be doing, like content at the right time to the right people. And then as you grow your email strategy, that's when you'd look to invest in like BIMI and stuff like that. There's obviously authentication is your foundation layer, all the stuff that Brian went through, which is like, you have to have this, you have to have that. BIMI is something you'd look at when you've done all of that base layer, and then you could then consider it, because it is for a small business. Like, yeah, it's probably too much for my business to fork out, like to do BIMI, and it's a lot of time and a lot of effort. So I'm focusing on all the stuff I can control within that. And then when I build my functions up a bit more, I'm going to invest in BIMI. For me, it will be a nice addition to have to help with brand awareness in the inbox. So I would kind of put it on your priority list of, are we doing all the other stuff that we should be doing with email, investing all the time and the money and all the kind of things that we should be, and then put that on the roadmap for maybe, 6 months time. But it's important. If you've got the money to do it, do it. If you haven't, I'd probably invest in sending the right content at the right time to the right people, for sure.
I just want to add something to that. So, by the way, BIMI does not cost anything. BIMI is a DNS record. The VMC, which is that certificate, that costs something, can also be utilized for other things and adds to your kind of credibility on the domain. But there are cheaper ways to do it. I believe the VMC is about $1,300 a year. I'm not arguing that that's cheap, by the way. So I don't want to come off like I'm ignorant to small business and every dollar matters. But how much does your email marketing matter to you? Is that the main source of all of your revenue? If that's the case, does $1,200 make or break you? What if $1,200 got you way more impressions, way more clicks, way more things? You have to weigh that. And I'm not arguing. It's not the first thing I would do, just to be super clear. And you can try to add BIMI and get on some of the lower, networks that don't require all these certificates. You can do those at significantly lower or no costs. So there are ways to do it, but to do it right and 100%, yes, it requires certificates.
So we have crossed the 1 hour mark. You got to about half the questions. What I want to know from you all, what's your time frame?
Got a few minutes.
Okay, so we will soldier on.
If there's people still here, we'll keep going. I feel like we definitely need to do another one.
There are some great questions. Mike comments, I tried to use the Apple BIMI and Apple Business never responded to my requests. And then there were a couple people who echoed his concern.
Interesting. So my experience with that is they're a bit picky. So they want all of the information. And it's all got to be done very, very well. Never responded. I can't say I've seen that. I've got denied. I'll be super clear on that and transparent and wear my heart on my sleeve here. We've been denied a few times, but it was due to some mistake that we made. I think it's odd that never heard from a request. I would delete it and submit it again. Maybe it went to La La Land.
Kathy asks, do you have to apply through some company like DigiCert to get BIMI? Yes. To get
a VMC, a verified mark, yes. And DigiCert is really the only one that is qualified to and accepted to be used for BIMI.
Snezana, aren't there cons of using a dedicated domain if the volume is lower than 200,000 per week?
No, I don't. Oh my gosh, if you're not using your own domain for even like 10 emails a week, I would be scared. Like, I don't know. Do you mean aren't there cons? No, I want to know where you got this information from. Who's told you that?
I think it's dedicated IP. I think it's dedicated IP.
Yeah, I was like,
I'm hoping you're meaning dedicated IP and that's a typo of some sort. But by the way, if it's lower than 200,000 per week, 200,000 per week is not low. That is a lot of email going out. And so, no, I would argue that if you're sending more than a couple hundred emails per week, if you're in the thousands, multi-thousands, a dedicated IP is not a magic bullet. What it is protection on the reputation of that IP address. So no outside influence can make or break you. And if you're on a shared one, then that can be what's taking place and you have no control over it. And you're just an effect of the cause, right? Which was someone else did something bad and they kind of burned up that IP. So I'm assuming you're saying dedicated IP.
Barb asks, how much are open and click rates impacted by automated systems that check links for spam before allowing them to get to the recipient?
Open rates, to me, it's just it's toasted.
Yeah. Open rates, I mean, like, goodbye. No, they're not totally like, I hate them. I feel like Brian's on my side with this anyway, but they do. So if you notice someone clicking all the links in your emails, opening every single email you've ever sent, clicking on all the links, that will pretty much tell you it's not them, it's a bot, it's a filter. Something is doing all of that stuff. I would try and stay clear of being like, opens are positive, so we got a 40% open rate, our email did well, because it's not a positive or a negative metric. It's a bit of a vanity metric, because things will open your email for you. So there are platforms that you can, like HubSpot filters out a lot of bots, but it's never 100% accurate. When I've done email audits, and I'm not joking, one of them, they had a 30% open rate. When we actually looked at the true open rate, I think it was like 12%. So you really have to take it all with a pinch of salt. But indicators would be they're clicking every link, they're opening every email. People from the same business, they're all opening our emails. It's kind of, you've got to look at the other stuff, like what was the destination of what you wanted to do, what was the goal, and you've got to take these with a pinch of salt, as I said, because they can be so unreliable, super unreliable.
Gina asks, for B2B, what is the recommended send best practices to your opt-in audience? 1 time a week? Is 2 times a week okay? What is the benchmark?
The benchmark. Oh no.
Not the dreaded word.
I'm like, I hate the benchmark.
I don't think there's
I
don't think there's a answer to this. It depends. What do you do? What do you send? What are you sending people? Do they need to know what's going on? Are you sending to businesses for lunch? Lunch newsletters, and that's all your business is due to B2B in that sort of a sense. Would you want to send that once a month? Probably not. 2 times a week might make more sense. Fridays, Thursdays kind of thing. There's no answer to this. I think you have to A/B test and measure results.
Yes.
And I think people are just, I agree with you. Now I think I'm going to dial in on this, by the way, like benchmarks I think there's thresholds, but I don't think benchmarks are good kind of metric to look at. Try it. Try sending once a week.
Yeah.
Try sending twice a week.
Yeah.
What performed better? Look at it on a week-to-week basis.
Yeah. Take a pot of people out. Top tip. So what I'm doing with my newsletter is, the goal was I just want to get 1 newsletter out once a week, but I also want to dial down on email. So I call them, what did I call them? I don't know. I just call them my special group. My special group. I've taken a pot of people out and I'm trialing actually emailing them a little bit more. And I'm trialing some other emails, and I'm seeing what the impact of that is on unsubscribes, on the goals that I'm setting for my emails. And then I start drip feeding. If that's positive, I drip feed more people in, and that informs my strategy. And obviously I'm B2B as well. So I get it, because you're like, I don't want to email them too much. I don't want to, what if we don't email them enough? But start with 1 a week, right? 1 a week, set that as the prerogative, and then do a special group. I don't know what you want to call it. A special group, a tester pot, I'm not sure, and test, because there is no benchmark on that. And you know what? People that want to hear from you, it wouldn't matter if you emailed them every day if they absolutely loved what you were saying. Like, and I've tried that with some of my special group. Like, I've emailed them 4 times a week, which for me, I was like, oh my God, it's been amazing. So just go for it and test it and see what happens. And Casey's just said, I'll be on the special group. Oh, you're in.
Now, here's an interesting one. For B2B event company, who is engaging with people with relevant product lines? We introduce the event format. Generally, is there a correlation with length of the email and ending up in spam? Should there be a certain length?
It's interesting.
I mean, if you've got any data, I'm sure there's probably a test out there that says this email has this many spams. But again, it's like one of those, isn't it, Brian? Like it is. You're gonna have to test that. You have to test it.
So I can only go from experience of what I see as well. We don't send emails that are like pages upon pages long. However, I am on Costco's newsletter, and if you're on Costco's newsletter, they're pages upon pages upon pages. Costco. And I don't know why, but I actually read it because they have so many different things that I'm interested in. So I don't know if this is relevant to your event company, right? Where there's so many events going on that people might scroll through it. I think that's okay. I would be more concerned about a minimal, too minimal of content rather than, I don't want to say like, can you put too much content? Probably. But I don't think it's going to necessarily affect the ending up in spam or not. I think it's the other factors that are going to play more of a role than the length of your content.
Yeah, but could length get you in the spam folder? So, like if it was all text and it was like going on for days, could that, do you think, be a trigger?
Maybe if the words in there are over the top and they're looking at ratios of something like that. But I've never heard of that it is. I've just never heard of it. I'm not saying it's not, but I've never heard of it.
Yeah, cool.
For DMARC authentication, is this initially a back-end development fix? We use HubSpot.
So using HubSpot doesn't matter. It's independent. DMARC is a policy. So it tells people what to do with emails that are authenticated or not authenticated properly. It is a DNS record. So yeah, I guess if you're not technical and you don't understand DNS, you would want kind of someone who can administrate the domain, do it for you. But just also be clear, DMARC is not authentication. DMARC is the policy. SPF and DKIM is authentication, and that is technical as well. So yes, if you don't know what this is, get help, because if you screw it up, it's going to actually cause a lot more problems than fix. So if you don't know what you're doing here, get some professional help. It's not complicated, but get someone that understands it and they can do it quickly for you.
Yeah, definitely.
Are the feedback loops accurate from Postmaster tool?
Yeah.
I hope so. I really hope so. I've got a lot of businesses relying on that.
Yeah.
What is an acceptable average?
I think
What is an acceptable average newsletter click rate? Is that 3.6% to 6%?
Well, again, feel like, Gemma, what do you think is acceptable for your audience? Like I think there's a lot. Do you know what I'm getting from these questions? And I know we've got to wrap up really quickly now. So what I'm getting from the benchmarking questions and all of this is I think actually marketers need a bit of reassurance in what they're doing. And I think I get the vibe anyway, talking to people. There's a lot of like, I just don't know if I'm doing the right thing. Like, I don't know if these clicks are enough because I see other people getting this on their emails. It doesn't matter what everybody else is doing, right? Like, this is about your audience, your goals. And if you are hitting your goals, I'm not being funny. It doesn't matter if your click rate is 1%, if email is driving impact or awareness or searches on the site or signups or whatever. So I'd say for a newsletter, like, you could Google that and you'll get so many different answers. I'm not going to give you one because my newsletter click through is way different. And it's way different every time I send a newsletter as well. So I would say, I'm sure whatever you're doing is fantastic, but take the pressure off yourself to try and find that validation and just benchmark yourself and test every time. And if clicks are the goals, focus on that and test different things. But I think, yeah, you're all doing a fantastic job. Of course. Round of applause.
All right. Well, if we tried to get to all of your questions, but we've run out of time. We do apologize if we didn't get to your question, but we did get to most of them. Great answers, guys. And take it from here.
By the way, if I didn't get to your question, it was technical and you want to, please reach out to me on LinkedIn or email Brian@zerobounds.net, Brian with an I at zerobounds.net. I'm happy to kind of help if I can. We just kind of ran out of some time here, but we have a free deliverability guide. This will give you a lot of tips and tricks, how to kind of warm up, how to send, how to start to build your campaigns. So there's a great guide there. And then also I saw a question on like, how do I email, or how do I actually validate my list, or how do I validate an email? If you go on our website, you can sign up for a free account, or if you just want to test it, you can put an email address right at the top. We have it like literally in the hero where you can put an email address in, or you can upload your list and we'll actually give you an evaluation of the quality of your list. That's totally free and anonymous and does not even require an account. So if you just want to get a understanding, or let's just say you pulled a bad move and you purchased a list, go throw that list up here and see actually how bad that was. And feel free to check it out that way. But all Zero Bounce accounts get all of these kind of tools for free. We're very big. We are a startup. Well, we're past startup phase, thankfully. We busted our butt to get there. But we believe in startups. We believe in small companies. And we believe in having a very good freemium product because we relied on those as well. And so our free accounts come with a lot of full version. There's no watered down. There's no tricks. You can send inbox placement tests to us. We'll evaluate your headers. We'll see if DMARC's set up properly. and you can validate emails. You can also set up your domain on a blacklist monitor. All of that is completely free. All of our integrations are completely free. We do not charge for any of that type of stuff. We really believe in kind of helping, especially if you're small and you're starting up, you're trying to get off the ground. So we're happy to help there.
I love Zero Bounce. I would highly recommend, guys. I use it for all my clients, use it for myself. Brilliant. Love it. Cool. Okay, we've got to go. Everyone's probably going now. So yeah, thank you for having me. I've had so much fun.
Thank you.
Good job, Brian. Good job, Beth. And thank you, everyone, for joining us today. Yeah. This full recording is going to be up on YouTube, and we will see you on the next webinar.
See you soon.
We'll see you.